Welcome to the channel. Before we dive into today's story, let me ask you something. Have you ever been judged the moment you walked into a room? Maybe by the way you looked, what you wore, or where you came from. What if you discovered that sometimes the quietest acts of strength and respect can change everything? Today's story is a powerful reminder about the true meaning of respect, the courage it takes to confront injustice, and the strength found in walking away with your head held high. Stick around, this is a story you won't want to miss. If you're new here, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community where stories come alive and lessons stay with you long after the last word. For everyone who's already liked and subscribed, thank you from the bottom of my heart. May you be blessed with good health, ease in every matter, freedom from debt, solutions to every difficulty, healing for those who are sick, and an abundance of peace and joy every single day. I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced a moment like this story? What did you learn? Let's start a conversation. Now let's get into the story. The late afternoon sun draped its golden light across the vast desert landscape as a silver SUV curved off Highway 60 and entered the long private driveway to the Tierra Luz Resort. Tucked against the red rock cliffs of southern Arizona, the resort shimmered with glass walls and sandstone accents, giving the illusion it had grown from the earth itself. Palm trees swayed gently under the breeze, and the sound of a waterfall trickled through speakers near the valet entrance. Behind the wheel, a man in his early 40s with a worn denim shirt and quiet eyes slowed the vehicle to a stop. His name was Marcus Hale. He stepped out and walked around to open the passenger door for his daughter. Nia, just 8 years old, swung her legs out and hopped down, her bright pink backpack bouncing against her shoulders. "Smells like cinnamon and pine trees," she said, wrinkling her nose. "Better than the gas station we stopped at," Marcus replied with a soft chuckle. A young valet wearing a name tag that read Tyson stepped forward, clearly distracted by the SUV's dusty exterior and the fact that Marcus offered no luggage for him to carry. Tyson smiled stiffly. "Checking in?" he asked. Marcus nodded. "Name's Hale. Reservation should be under that." Tyson gave him a quick glance, then looked past him as if expecting someone else to walk up and explain why a man dressed like a ranch hand was standing at the entrance of one of the most exclusive resorts in the state. "I think the main desk can help you with that," Tyson said and gestured with his chin toward the lobby. Marcus nodded, unfazed. He reached for Nia's hand and led her through the large glass doors. Inside, the cool air welcomed them. Polished marble floors gleamed beneath their feet, and the scent of lavender filled the space. Behind the front desk stood a woman with perfectly straightened auburn hair and an expression that practiced politeness without ever offering warmth. Her name tag read Danica. She noticed them, paused, and plastered on a thin smile. "Good afternoon," she said. "Can I help you?" Marcus offered a calm smile. "Checking in. Marcus Hale. Should be under Hale." Danica tapped on her keyboard, then frowned slightly. "I'm not seeing it. Are you sure the reservation is under that name?" "Positive," Marcus replied. "Did someone else book it for you? Maybe a group reservation?" she asked, already scanning for backup as if someone would confirm her doubts. Marcus leaned in slightly. "Try again. First name Marcus. Last name Hale." Danica hesitated, then typed again. Her eyes flicked to the screen. There it was. Executive Suite 5 nights. Booked under the resort's private investor account. She blinked, swallowed, and straightened her posture. "I see it now," she said slowly. "I apologize for the confusion. We'll get you checked in right away." "Thank you," Marcus said evenly, then glanced at Nia. "Why don't you pick a snack from the cafe, kiddo? I'll be right here." Danica handed him a room key with a tremble she tried to hide. "Enjoy your stay." They took the elevator to the top floor. Their suite overlooked the canyons, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a soaking tub that made Nia giggle with delight. Marcus walked to the balcony, slid open the door, and stepped into the dry, high-altitude breeze. He'd come here with a purpose. This wasn't a vacation, not really. This was a check-in. A personal one. Because he hadn't just booked the suite. He owned the place. Quietly, anonymously, behind shell companies and partnerships, Marcus Hale was the majority investor of Tierra Luz. But no one at the front desk knew that. Not yet. He sipped the bitter in-room coffee, watched the shadows lengthen across the valley, and made mental notes. He wasn't here to be treated like royalty. He was here to see how people acted when they thought he wasn't watching. That night, he and Nia dined at the outdoor restaurant by the reflecting pool. The server seemed distracted, taking a long time to bring menus. Another couple at a nearby table received complimentary wine and personal attention. Marcus and Nia got water in silence. Nia didn't notice. She was too busy watching a hummingbird flit near a flowering cactus. But Marcus noticed everything. By the time dessert rolled around, a shared slice of prickly pear pie, he'd seen enough to confirm his instincts. Something wasn't right. Not with the staff, not with the culture, and certainly not with the way some guests seemed to be prioritized over others based on appearance alone. As Nia yawned and rested her head on his arm, Marcus sat back and let his gaze sweep across the property. The stars were coming out. The night was quiet. But underneath the beauty he could feel the cracks. He hadn't come to make trouble. But trouble, if it was already here, was about to find out who Marcus Hale really was. The next morning arrived with a quiet hush, as if the desert itself held its breath. Marcus woke early, his body still trained to rise with the sun from years in a life he rarely spoke of. He stepped out onto the balcony and watched the amber light stretch across the cliffs. Below, the resort grounds were slowly coming to life, gardeners sweeping paths, chefs prepping the breakfast buffet, and staff members exchanging sleepy nods. Nia was still tucked under a soft blanket in the bedroom, her braids fanned across the pillow. Marcus let her sleep and dressed in a crisp but casual shirt, then slipped out the door. He didn't go far. Just enough to walk the halls and get a feel for the place, not as a guest but as someone with ownership in mind. He noticed a faint tear in the corner of a hallway rug, a smudge on the window that faced the meditation garden. A manager whispering sharply to a junior staff member near the laundry door, their voices urgent and defensive. In the employee break room, tucked just out of sight behind the conference center, a bulletin board displayed smiling staff photos and printed out policies, some curling at the corners. A few workers glanced at him as he passed, then looked away quickly, sensing he didn't belong, but not in the usual way. They didn't see a celebrity, a high-paying guest, or a famous CEO. He was something else, unlabeled. Back in the main corridor, a man rounded the corner with quick steps. Tall, lean, polished like a man who thrived on influence. He wore a navy suit with a beige silk pocket square and the kind of smile that was both warm and unreadable. "Morning," the man said smoothly. "You must be one of our newest guests. Marcus, right?" Marcus paused. "That's right. I'm Roland Pierce, General Manager. Heard you checked in yesterday." He extended his hand. Marcus shook it. "Good to meet you." Roland's smile twitched at the edges. "I like to personally welcome first-time guests, especially those who draw attention without meaning to." "Is that what I'm doing?" Marcus asked. Roland let out a practiced chuckle. "You'd be surprised how much we notice. This is a place of detail." Marcus nodded slowly. "I'm fond of detail." "I'm sure you are," Roland said. "If there's anything you need during your stay, don't hesitate to contact me directly." "I'll keep that in mind." With a final polite nod, Roland turned and disappeared down the hallway. Marcus watched him go, his instincts already turning. Roland was too smooth, too rehearsed. That kind of confidence only came from a man who thought he had nothing to fear. Back in the suite, Nia was awake and sprawled across the carpet, sketching a desert flower with her markers. "Did you bring me something?" she asked with a grin. Marcus tossed her a tiny granola bar from the cafe. "Breakfast starter. We'll get real food downstairs." As they ate at the main dining patio, a young woman with tired eyes approached their table. Her name tag read Callie. She wasn't flashy like the other servers, just sincere. "Can I get you anything else?" she asked after bringing their plates. "Coffee's perfect," Marcus said. "And she's loving the pancakes." Nia grinned, her mouth full of syrup. Callie gave a small smile. "Let me know if you need anything." Then she added quietly, "Some people don't see what's really happening here. But you do." She walked away before Marcus could respond. He didn't press it, not then. But the words sat with him. After breakfast, they wandered the property. Nia ran through the shallow fountain paths and collected oddly shaped stones, while Marcus examined every corner, the spa, the gym, the business lounge. The deeper he looked, the more he saw signs of mismanagement. Not the glaring kind, but the subtle, insidious cracks that revealed deeper issues. Favoritism, exploitation, unspoken hierarchies among the staff. Outside the garden suites, he found Callie again, this time arguing with the supervisor in hushed tones. "You can't keep doing this," she said. "We've got guests who expect a certain standard," the supervisor replied. "Let it go." Callie turned and nearly bumped into Marcus. Her eyes widened. "Everything all right?" Marcus asked gently. She hesitated. "Not really, but it doesn't matter. Nothing changes around here." He studied her for a beat, then gave a small nod. Maybe it's time it did. Callie glanced over her shoulder, fear flashing in her expression. You don't know who you're dealing with. Marcus smiled faintly. I know enough. That evening, after Nia fell asleep with a new book clutched in her arms, Marcus opened his laptop and accessed the secure server only a handful of people in the world had clearance for. He pulled up the operational files of Tierra Luz, staff reports, internal audits. The numbers didn't lie. Money was being siphoned. Staff turnover was rising. Complaints were buried, redirected, or outright deleted. He clicked on one folder labeled VIP Preferences and saw how certain names were tagged with special notes, coded language for discrimination. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. He closed the laptop and rose. Outside stood Callie, eyes darting down the hall. I don't know why you're here, she whispered, but if you're really trying to help, I think I need to show you something. Marcus stepped aside and let her in. Whatever she had to reveal, he was ready. Because this wasn't just about a bad resort. This was about justice. And Marcus Hale had spent a lifetime delivering it in ways people never saw coming. Callie stood just inside the doorway, her arms crossed over her faded uniform. Her eyes scanned the suite briefly, noting the quiet corners, the untouched wine tray, the soft glow of a single lamp. She looked nervous but resolved, like someone who had spent too long being afraid. Marcus gestured to the couch. You can sit if you want. I'm not staying long, she replied, her voice taut. Nia's bedroom door remained closed. Marcus glanced at it, then back to Callie. She's asleep. We can talk. Callie nodded slowly and pulled something from her pocket, a small flash drive wrapped in a rubber band. I made a copy of some internal files. Schedules, time cards, complaint logs. I know I'm not supposed to have them, but I couldn't take it anymore. She handed it to Marcus. Last week, a housekeeper named Letitia came to me crying. She said she saw Roland in the maintenance wing yelling at one of the junior staff. It got physical. When she reported it, her hours got cut the next day. No explanation. Then she was transferred to night duty, alone. Marcus took the flash drive and turned it slowly in his fingers. I thought about quitting, Callie said, but I've got a younger brother in Tucson. He's got medical bills. I need this job. You did the right thing coming to me, Marcus said. She looked at him then. Why are you really here? You're not just some rich guy on vacation, are you? He gave her a long look before answering. Let's just say I've spent years handling situations like this. People hiding behind status, abusing power. This place doesn't scare me. Callie exhaled, some tension slipping from her shoulders. Then you should know, Roland's not the only problem. There's a guest who stays here every month, always in the cliffside villa. They call him Mr. Warren. But that's not his real name. What's he involved in? Bribery. Trafficking. He's connected to private contractors, shady investors. He uses Tierra Luz as a meeting point. Staff are told to keep their heads down when he's here. He tips big, so most do. Marcus's jaw tightened. When's he coming next? Callie hesitated. Tomorrow. He nodded slowly. Then we don't have much time. That night, after she left, Marcus uploaded the files and began cross-referencing names, dates, transactions. He wasn't just looking for evidence, he was building a map. A network of complicity. Roland, Mr. Warren, several department heads, even a silent partner listed on an old deed. The corruption ran deep. In the morning, he took Nia on a hike through the Red Canyons. They laughed and climbed, took photos of desert blooms, and skipped stones in a shallow creek. For a few hours, Marcus let himself be only her father, her protector. But once they returned, the real work resumed. At lunch, he watched Roland give a hearty laugh at a corner table while clapping a man's shoulder. The man was in his 60s, wore aviator glasses, and carried the casual arrogance of someone too used to impunity. Mr. Warren. Marcus studied his every movement, memorizing his face, the subtle gestures of control. The way other staff members moved quickly around him, never making eye contact. Later that afternoon, Callie sent Marcus a text. He's in the wine cellar now. Alone. That was all Marcus needed. He made his way down the service hallway, bypassed the kitchen, and slipped into the cool, dim cellar. Bottles lined the walls, arranged by region and rarity. At the far end, Mr. Warren examined a label, swirling a glass lazily. You're not on the staff, Warren said without turning around. So who are you? Marcus didn't answer right away. He stepped closer, every movement deliberate. I'm someone who's watched men like you ruin good places. Warren finally turned, amused. Big words. But this isn't your fight, son. Marcus smiled coldly. It is now. Warren's gaze sharpened. You don't know who you're dealing with. Yes, I do, Marcus said quietly. And you should be worried about that. The silence stretched. Then Warren chuckled and raised his glass. Enjoy your vacation while it lasts. As he walked out, Marcus didn't move. He waited until the echo of Warren's footsteps vanished, then pulled out a small device and scanned the ceiling beams. Hidden camera. Motion triggered. It had been recording. And now, Marcus had proof that Warren frequented this location, had unrestricted access to a secure facility, and engaged in private meetings without oversight. That night, he sent an encrypted file to an old contact in Phoenix, someone who still owed him favors from a past life. He attached the staff testimonies, the financial reports, and the footage. He only wrote 5 words in the body of the email. This place is getting cleaned. The reply came 10 minutes later. Understood. You'll have support by tomorrow night. Marcus closed the laptop. Outside, the desert wind swept through the cacti and dry grasses, whispering change. In the suite, Nia curled up next to him with her stuffed armadillo. Is the resort broken? She asked sleepily. Marcus stroked her hair. A little. Are you fixing it? He paused. I'm trying. And he would. Because for all its beauty and luxury, Tierra Luz held secrets that needed to be dragged into the sun. And Marcus Hale had never walked away from the truth. The next morning brought a strange stillness to Tierra Luz. The kind of quiet that comes before a monsoon sweeps across the Arizona desert, disrupting the illusion of calm. Marcus rose early before the sun painted the cliffs gold, and went for a run through the outer trails. His body moved automatically, every step a silent recalibration. In his mind, plans and contingencies were already in motion. By the time he returned, Callie was waiting near the staff entrance with a brown paper bag and a burner phone. Staff meals, she said with a wry smile, handing over the bag. And a little extra. Inside the bag, beneath a sandwich wrapped in wax paper, was a visitor's badge and a hotel-issued keycard, unmarked but with extended access clearance. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Let's just say I have friends who don't like what's happening here, Callie said. And they're ready for someone to finally do something about it. Anyone else know about this? No. And I want to keep it that way. Back in the suite, Marcus placed the phone beside his laptop and checked the secure line. His contact had sent another message. Your man Warren has ties to a shell company in Scottsdale. The name links to arms deals flagged by Homeland 5 years ago. We've got eyes moving in. The message was unsigned, but Marcus knew exactly who it was from. He turned to Nia, still brushing her teeth in the bathroom mirror, and called out, We're doing a scavenger hunt today. She peeked around the corner. Like a game? Exactly. But we have to be sneaky. She beamed. I'm good at sneaky. Midday, the resort hummed with its usual gloss. Guests sipped cocktails near the pool. Staff moved with clockwork precision. But Marcus moved differently now. Purposefully. Watching everything. Noticing details others ignored. He started with the back offices near accounting. Using the key card, he slipped into a restricted hallway that reeked of disinfectant and old secrets. He found a locked cabinet marked Staff Incidents. The lock was old. Sloppy. He jimmied it open with a thin blade from his pocket knife. Inside were manila folders stretching back 10 years. Complaints, suspensions, terminations. Dozens of cases involving a pattern of silence. Victims paid off. Whistleblowers removed. One folder caught his eye, Lucinda R. Her photo was paper-clipped to the inside. A former sous chef who reported assault by a contractor and was relocated to a spa in Nevada. Marcus scanned the file and took pictures with the burner phone. Next, he headed to the maintenance sublevels. The layout of Tierra Luz was a maze of luxury built atop a skeleton of ductwork and electrical panels. It was there, among the steel and dust, that he found the real command center. An unmarked room. Locked from the inside. He waited. A young man in overalls stepped out, and Marcus caught the door before it closed. The room was lit by monitors. Live feeds from hidden cameras placed not just in hallways, but in suites, offices, even the staff lounge. He took pictures again. Every screen. Every timestamp. He didn't hesitate. Back upstairs, Marcus bumped into Roland on purpose near the west courtyard. Nice weather, Marcus offered casually. Roland grunted and gave a tight smile. You enjoying your stay? Loving it. Roland squinted. You staying long? Marcus smiled. As long as I need to. They stared at each other, a current of unspoken tension flickering between them. Roland walked off first, checking his watch. Back at the suite, Marcus found Callie pacing. "We've got a problem," she said, handing him a folded piece of paper. "New staff assignments for tonight. The kitchen's being cleared early. Security doubled near the cliffside villa. Warren's planning something. Who's on the roster? No one I trust." Marcus rubbed his jaw. "Then we'll have to improvise." That evening, under cover of twilight, Marcus positioned himself at the western ridge overlooking the resort. He had eyes on the villa. Through his binoculars, he saw black SUVs roll in. 5 men in suits stepped out. One carried a briefcase. Callie, patched in via the burner phone, whispered, "Those aren't guests." "I know," Marcus said. He moved fast. Through the back trail, down a service slope into the courtyard. From there, he used the keycard to enter the kitchen wing, now strangely empty. He slipped past the wine cellar and into the maintenance corridor. In 10 minutes, he was beneath the cliffside villa, crawling through a dry crawl space. Dust clung to his shirt. Every sound echoed in the narrow dark. He found the panel beneath the villa floor and planted a small recording device against the ventilation grate. Voices filtered through. "Everything's ready. The shipment's already in Flagstaff. We just need the signature," one man said. "And what about the resort?" another asked. Warren's voice replied, smooth and confident, "We'll flip the ownership through a proxy. The silent investor in Phoenix has already been paid. The resort becomes a hub no one will suspect." Marcus recorded it all. He slipped out the way he came, returned to the suite just past midnight. Nia was asleep. The room was quiet, but the air felt heavier now. He sat on the edge of the bed and whispered into the burner phone, "Tell them we have it. Audio, documents, video. Make the call." The reply was brief. "Operation moves tonight." The wind outside picked up. Thunder growled in the distance. Something was coming. Tierra Luz was no longer just a resort. It was a battlefield. Rain fell like whispered warnings across the desert. The kind of steady, deliberate downpour that soaked the red earth and made the cacti shimmer under dark skies. The storm had arrived. Inside Tierra Luz, the mood shifted as the storm raged beyond its glass walls. Guests lingered at the lobby fireplace. Some sipped wine oblivious. Others complained about the lightning cutting off Wi-Fi in certain suites. But in Suite 212, there was no time for idle talk. Marcus stood near the window, the city lights behind him flickering like Morse code. Nia, still asleep, had a stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest. He adjusted the blackout curtains, concealing them from view. Callie arrived without knocking, wrapped in a gray hoodie soaked from the rain. "I had to ditch my badge," she said, pulling off her wet shoes. "Security's checking staff randomly now. Roland's been on edge all day." "He knows I'm on to him," Marcus said. "Warren too. I gave them a reason to panic." Callie pulled out a flash drive from her jacket. "Here. The rest of the camera footage. I downloaded it from their off-site backup before they scrubbed it." Marcus took the drive carefully and inserted it into his laptop. The screen bloomed with surveillance clips. Scenes from hallways, offices, the underground loading dock. One showed a shipping container being opened at night. Inside, sealed crates marked as imported kitchen equipment. But the contents weren't appliances. "Military-grade gear," Marcus murmured. "They're moving weapons through a 5-star resort." Callie's voice trembled. "Why here?" "Because no one's watching here," Marcus said. "The guests are too rich to care. The workers too afraid to ask." He leaned forward and pulled up another file, audio logs recorded from inside the cliffside villa. The voice of Warren, calm and calculated, spoke of laundering routes, offshore accounts, and a plan to replicate Tierra Luz's model across the Southwest. Marcus copied everything onto a second drive and locked it inside a hard case. "Callie, I need you to disappear for a while. Tonight." "What?" "You've done enough. If they find out what you've done, you won't be safe." "I'm not running, Marcus." He looked at her, eyes serious. "This isn't running. This is positioning. If something happens to me, you take this to Agent Sullivan at the Phoenix field office. Tell him Echo Dust. He'll know." Callie stared at him for a long beat, then nodded. "What about Nia?" "She stays with me until this is over." Thunder shook the windows. The lights flickered again. Marcus checked the time. "The exchange happens tonight at 3. They'll move the weapons before sunrise." He pulled on a dark jacket and stepped into a pair of old combat boots he'd stored in the closet, the soles worn but reliable. From under the bed, he retrieved a compact satchel. Inside were things no resort guest should have: signal jammers, magnetic charges, and a silenced sidearm wrapped in cloth. Callie looked at the gear, then at Marcus. You really were someone else before all this. I still am, he said quietly. I just stopped needing to prove it. He slipped out the side entrance of the suite, disappearing into the staff corridor. By the time he reached the western compound near the resort's edge, the rain had turned torrential. The air was thick with tension. He disabled the surveillance nodes near the cargo docks using the jammer, then climbed onto the service roof, crawling through a maintenance hatch and dropping into the ventilation system. Below, voices echoed through the metal. Shipments being loaded now. Where's Warren? Meeting with the Phoenix buyer upstairs. Make it quick. Marcus adjusted the small camera lens attached to his chest. Everything was streaming now. Every word. Every face. He moved fast, dropping into the storage bay unseen. Through a narrow slit between crates, he saw two men in suits inventorying the contents. One crate lay open, padded interiors filled with matte black firearms. He pulled the jammer back online and blocked all outgoing signals. Then he made a mistake. His foot knocked over a loose wrench on the ground. A clatter. Too loud. One of the men turned. Hey, who's there? Marcus dove behind the crates, rolled silently, and positioned himself at the far end. The man approached with a flashlight, sweeping the area. Marcus waited. One heartbeat. Two. Then he struck. A single quiet blow. The man collapsed with a muffled gasp. Marcus dragged him behind the crate and pulled out a zip tie, securing him in seconds. The second man raised the alarm, shouting into his radio. Only static answered back. Marcus fired one silent round, grazing the man's leg. He fell hard and Marcus was on him in seconds. From the mezzanine above, Warren appeared, flanked by two armed guards. You again? Warren called down. I had a feeling. Marcus stood slowly, gun pointed at the floor. You really thought this would stay hidden? Marcus asked. Warren smiled. Hidden? No, just overlooked. You think I built all this for money? Then what? Influence, power, control. This resort is a test, a fortress for the rich, a veil for the strong, a place where the weak are processed like livestock. You're a coward with good taste in granite countertops. Warren laughed. You can't stop it. The trucks are already headed to the interstate. I don't need to stop the trucks, Marcus said. I just need to expose you. Then he triggered the charge. It wasn't explosive. It was electromagnetic. A surge that took down the building's power grid and lit up the hidden stream he'd been broadcasting across a secure federal line. The room plunged into darkness. Backup lights flickered red. Alarms blared across the resort. And somewhere in the desert, agents were already closing in. Marcus ducked as bullets shattered the crates around him. He rolled, fired twice, and took down both guards. Warren escaped up the stairwell. Marcus followed. The chase was fast and brutal. Up concrete stairs, through emergency exits, across the rain-slicked rooftop of Tierra Luz. Lightning flashed behind them, casting long shadows against the sky. Warren turned at the edge of the roof, gun raised. Marcus didn't hesitate. One shot. Cling. Warren's weapon flew from his hand. He collapsed against the edge, bleeding, gasping. You're done, Marcus said. The network's gone. The files are set. Your people are scattering. Warren's face twisted with disbelief. Sirens howled in the distance. And then the helicopters came. The arrival of federal agents was not silent. Two black helicopters thundered over Tierra Luz, slicing the storm clouds with their searchlights. On the ground, SUVs surged through the private access roads, tires skimming over drenched gravel. Red and blue lights danced over adobe walls and marble fountains. Marcus stood on the rooftop, rain washing blood from his temple, watching the lights come for them. Warren lay unconscious near the edge, moaning incoherently as his wounds soaked through his designer jacket. Within moments, agents in tactical gear spilled into the resort from every angle, securing the loading docks, staff hallways, and the eastern wing where most of the crates were hidden. Marcus raised his hands as two agents emerged from the roof access door. Name? One barked. Marcus Delaney, he said. You'll find everything you need on this, he added, holding out the camera rig still streaming to the backup feed. An agent took it, checked the data, and gave a sharp nod. We've been chasing this network for 3 years. You just shut down their western hub. In the penthouse suite, Nia awoke to soft voices and brighter lights. Callie was beside her, whispering gently, stroking her hair. The storm had started to pass. Where's Daddy? Nia asked. Callie kissed her forehead. He'll be back soon. He's helping the good guys. The arrest of Warren Kavanaugh sent ripples through Arizona's elite. By morning, news helicopters hovered over Tierra Luz. Federal trucks loaded crates from the underground facility. Staff members were interviewed and guests were quietly escorted off the premises. Media outlets speculated wildly. Drug cartel, international arms, political coup. But the truth, what Marcus had uncovered, was far stranger. A sanctuary for the powerful turned shadow syndicate. A luxury desert resort hiding a covert weapons ring under sun-bleached clay tiles and imported mahogany. Marcus sat in the back of a black SUV, wrapped in a thermal blanket, flanked by agents. Beside him was Director Sullivan, the same man who had once ordered him deep into South America under classified terms. "I thought you retired," Sullivan said without irony. "I did," Marcus replied. "And now?" Marcus looked out the window. Past the rolling hills, the saguaros, the winding roads that cut through a desert still dripping with last night's rain. "I just want to go home." Sullivan handed him a folder. Inside were photos, legal statements, asset transfers. Tierra Luz has been seized. The government will dismantle the operation. But there's another option. What kind of option? Legitimate investors want to rebuild it. Not just as a resort, but as a sanctuary. For healing, not hiding. They want you to run it. Marcus blinked. "You're offering me ownership?" "No," Sullivan said. "I'm offering you stewardship. You've seen what this place can do. Now imagine what it could be." Marcus laughed softly. "You don't think they'll come after me? They'll try. But they won't win. You're not the ghost anymore, Marcus. You're the light." Back at the suite, Marcus entered quietly. Nia looked up from her coloring book, her smile lighting the room. She ran into his arms before he could say a word. Callie stood by the window, arms folded, relief etched deep into her face. "You good?" she asked. Marcus nodded. For the first time in years. He turned to Nia. "How about pancakes for lunch?" She gasped. "With blueberries?" "And chocolate chips." As the three of them sat around the dining table, the desert sky began to clear. Shafts of sunlight broke through thinning clouds, painting golden lines across the soaked resort grounds. Over the next week, the transformation began. Federal agents withdrew. Construction crews arrived. The remaining staff was given a choice: leave or help rebuild. Most stayed. Marcus walked the grounds with an architect, pointing out where to add community gardens, open-air classrooms, and wellness spaces. He wanted Tierra Luz to become more than a resort, a place of rebirth. Callie took on the role of operations manager, bringing calm precision to every chaotic moment. Guests slowly returned, not the jet-set elite, but veterans, trauma survivors, social workers, and artists. Each suite became a chapter of someone's healing story. And Marcus, once a shadow among shadows, became the unexpected center of it all. He no longer wore disguises. No more locked rooms or burner phones. His days were filled with rebuilding and laughter, and his nights with bedtime stories for Nia beneath the stars. The ghosts that had followed him for years began to fade, not forgotten, but forgiven. Tierra Luz, under its new purpose, earned a new name: La Casa de Renacer, the House of Rebirth. And as the desert bloomed once again under the spring sun, so too did the lives it sheltered. The desert morning arrived calm and clear, the air crisp with the scent of sagebrush and freshly turned earth. Marcus stepped onto the terrace of La Casa de Renacer, the golden light of dawn warming his face. The resort looked different now, softer, more alive. The scars of the past weeks were already healing beneath new paint, blooming flowers, and the steady hum of restoration. A gentle breeze carried laughter from the garden where Nia played with other children. Their joyous voices echoed like music through the open courtyards. Callie was nearby, overseeing the planting of native trees that would provide shade and shelter for years to come. Marcus inhaled deeply and thought of the journey that had brought him here, the shadows he'd walked through, the dangers he'd faced, and the secrets he'd unearthed. But more than that, he thought of the future. The promise this place held, not just for him but for all who would find solace here. A car approached down the winding driveway, the soft crunch of gravel announcing a visitor. Marcus recognized the figure stepping out, an old friend from his past, someone who had once trained him in the shadows but now sought the light. "Marcus," the visitor said, voice steady but warm. "Looks like you've built something worth fighting for." Marcus smiled, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "It's only the beginning." Together, they walked toward the heart of La Casa de Renacer, where guests and staff gathered beneath a canopy of mesquite trees. A community born from hardship, united by hope. No more secrets, no more running, only healing. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the horizon, a vast canvas of endless possibilities. And in that space, Marcus found peace, not in the past he could not change, but in the life he was choosing to build. As the sun rose higher, casting light across the red rocks and golden sands, Marcus took Nia's hand. "Come on, kiddo," he said. "Let's start today." And together, beneath the wide Arizona sky, they stepped forward into their new dawn. The end. 7 moral lessons from the story. Respect is universal and must be earned and given freely. No matter one's appearance, background, or status, respect is a fundamental human right. The story shows how assumptions based on skin color, dress, or social cues lead to unjust treatment. Marcus's experience reminds us that respect should never be selective or conditional. True respect is about seeing the person beneath the surface and honoring their dignity. It costs nothing to give and costs everything to ignore. Power is meant to protect, not to intimidate or divide. Marcus's approach to the hotel staff, choosing calm assertion over loud confrontation, demonstrates how power used responsibly can inspire change without breeding resentment. Power wielded as a tool to uplift and protect creates a foundation for trust and transformation. Conversely, power used to dominate or humiliate only fractures communities and leaves wounds. Change starts with accountability and education. The story highlights the importance of confronting uncomfortable truths head-on. When the staff faced the reality of their bias and the consequences of their actions, it sparked a process of reflection and growth. True change requires accountability, not just punishment, and ongoing education to dismantle prejudice and build empathy. This transformation is neither quick nor easy, but it is essential. Every role matters in creating inclusive spaces. From front desk clerks to housekeeping, every person in the story has a responsibility to uphold the values of fairness and kindness. Marcus reminds us that respect is a two-way street, and any role within a community or organization contributes to the overall culture. When one person falters, the whole environment suffers. When everyone embraces inclusion, the entire place flourishes. Children learn by example, not just words. Marcus's conscious decision not to make a public scene but to handle the situation with dignity reflects a powerful lesson for his daughter, Nia. Children absorb lessons through their parents' actions more than their words. Teaching respect, courage, and grace through example instills values that shape the next generation's character and approach to injustice. Healing requires patience and consistency. The journey from tension and mistrust to understanding and respect in the story is gradual. Marcus's ongoing presence, calm persistence, and willingness to engage with the hotel staff and guests show that healing cannot be rushed. Real transformation happens over time, through consistent effort and compassionate dialogue. True strength lies in walking away with integrity. Sometimes the most powerful act is knowing when to step back without bitterness or revenge. Marcus's choice to leave the resort with his head held high, hands clean, and heart full shows that strength is not about control or dominance, but about integrity and self-respect. It is a reminder that lasting peace begins within ourselves. Disclaimer: this story is entirely fictional and created for the purpose of providing moral lessons, motivation, inspiration, and meaningful learning experiences. Any resemblance to real people, places, or events is purely coincidental. Viewer discretion is advised, and the content is meant to encourage reflection and positive action. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. I hope it reminded you that true respect is something we all deserve, no matter where we come from or what we wear. Sometimes, the biggest power move is treating others with kindness and walking away with your hands clean. If this story touched you or made you think, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There's so much more meaningful content coming your way. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. What part of the story resonated with you the most? How do you practice respect in your daily life? Let's support each other through these conversations. May you be blessed with strength, clarity, and the courage to stand for what is right. Until next time, take care and be kind.